Hi, my name is Jason, also known as Zorn on the Fantasy Grounds forums. This is the second video in a three-part series covering how to play 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons over the Fantasy Grounds virtual tabletop. At the time of this recording, the current live version is 3.0.9. While this tutorial series is aimed at showcasing 5e D&D, most of what you'll learn by watching these videos is universal with respect to the capabilities of this software. One of the powerful features of Fantasy Grounds you may have heard about are library modules. As there is currently no licensed modules for 5e yet, if you want to use these, you'll have to make them yourself. Although it has never been easier to make your own modules using the parse utility, I do not use modules at all in this video series, as they are not a requirement for an amazing Fantasy Grounds experience. With all of the disclaimers out of the way, let's continue this series with hosting the game. As we begin exploring the DM side of Fantasy Grounds, I'm going to assume the viewer has read the basic guides section of the Fantasy Grounds wiki site, specifically the campaign data and campaign tools sections. If you haven't looked at these already, I recommend at least skimming them after this video to give you a fuller grasp of the DM experience. The campaign data section covers campaign data, character management, library modules, images and maps, tokens, and encounters. Campaign Tools covers the combat tracker, party sheet, tables, calendar, lighting, colors, modifiers, effects, and options. The first thing you're going to do as a DM is create or load your campaign up. Your campaign is where you will store all of your player characters, as well as store story entries, maps and images, NPCs and encounters, items and treasure parcels, and your tokens. Actually, it's the main place you can put all those things, and it's quite sufficient for on-the-fly adventuring. If you prefer to do a lot of prep work before your games, and I know I do, then I would recommend creating another campaign and putting all of your adventure material there. Then export that campaign to a library module, which can be referenced from any other campaign or even shared with other DMs in a file. I'm getting ahead of myself though. That's the purpose of the third video in this series. So to create a campaign, I will click on a Create New Campaign. I will fill out the campaign name, the username, I usually put Dungeon Master, and an optional password if desired. You'll select the rule set you wish to use, 5e in this instance, and then if you have any extensions you've loaded from the community, you could choose them here. On the right, you can choose Generate Alias to create a simple 4-word server address, which you can give to your players to connect, and then you would click Start. However, I've already got a campaign that I'm using for this video. It's the same one that I did the player quick start with. So I'm going to choose 5e at FG and click Start. I'll see you on the other side. Now we're looking at the DM perspective of the Fantasy Grounds client, which is pretty much the same as the players. There's just a couple extra features on here. Up in the campaign tools, I've got a couple extra buttons that I can adjust. I've got my campaign data buttons are all the same, but I can actually modify more of I can actually use all of them. My tokens has a few more things in it, and I've got an identity selector right here where I can change identities to, like, show that I'm speaking as the goblin, etc. I've gone ahead and taken the liberty of connecting with another client as a player. So I've joined the game and I've already selected all of the characters, so I've got some portraits up top. Something about the character portraits is that the DM can open anyone's portrait that he wants and look around and do whatever he wants and modify stuff. It's really handy when you've got a new player and you're just trying to adjust a field for them, show them what to click on. So let's go ahead and run down the changes on the campaign data. When you open the PC window, you'll notice you can see who owns what characters. You can also right-click and clear their ownership or delete the characters. One of your other options when you click Edit List is to export characters to XML files or to import characters from an XML file. Easy way to move characters between campaigns. That's all I'm going to do. Look at that on that one. On the story entries, this is where you can build all your encounter text, box text, links to other stuff, everything. This is where you really can build an entire adventure, is in your story entries. The images is where you put your maps and portraits, anything you want to display to characters in an image window. And if you click the folder tab, it will actually bring up the folder where those images are stored. Pretty much any JPEG or PNG will open. Next is the NPC window. This is where you'll actually build your NPCs on a template. Here's what the template looks like whenever you make a new one. You fill out all these fields and then you lock it when you're done, and it gives you a nice compact field. You can assign tokens and put everything on it, and then that gives you an NPC that can be drug into the combat tracker. You can also instead make a new encounter, and on the encounters I can take NPCs that I've built and put them here, say how many there are, adjust tokens, name some of them if I wanted to have like a fixed name, add the CR and XP value, and when I click this button, it drops it directly into the combat tracker, which is really nice. And then the last thing I have is items, which is where I can build a new follow-on item template, which also, because I have it turned on, supports non-identified things. So I can put what you see when it's not identified, notes about it, and then I can also include the rest, which we'll get into in a little bit. You can then take those items and make a parcel. And in the parcel, I can put various coin mounts, and then I can also take any of the items I've built and drop them in here. And then those will, both the encounters and parcels also interact with the party sheet, which we'll get into in a little bit. And as I said, my tokens look a little bit different. So here's all of my different tokens. You'll notice this is where my GM tokens are stored. I put it in a subfolder, so it gives me a little bag to keep them separate. This is my shared tokens, and I put a little sub one here. This is ones that my players can see as well. And you'll notice it has a little icon on it to show me that the players can see into this bag. And then I also have a modules, which this is how you open and close modules in Fantasy Grounds. You'll notice I've got a couple that I've built myself using parse, but these here, all these pogs and tokens actually come with Fantasy Grounds. So I like to use the pog ones, so I've got the little book opened on all of those. And then you'll also notice there is little symbols here. This little red X means that the players do not even see it in the library. This one means that players see it and they are allowed to load it by, see if you close the book or open the book, that loads it. You saw it disappear up there. And then this one forces players to load it. So if you have maybe a library module that you have all your spells in, and you want to make sure that all players can see links to those spells, you can force them to load that module whenever they connect. So let me go ahead and close that. And I'm going to close all these things down. And now that we've done our tour, let's look at actually DMing. So I want to get started by looking at the campaign tools. There's two new ones here. The first one is you can control lighting. So I can set it to sunlight. I can set it to nighttime. This just puts a wash over the screen in color, just to kind of set the mood. So huddled around the campfire, exploring out in the wilderness. Basically, just kind of give a general feel. You can also use the lighting command to adjust the color, but just check the user guide for more information about that. You also have your combat tracker, which is a little bigger, has a lot more information on it. Your party window, which has a whole lot more information on it, which we will get into these as we go. The tables, you can see I've got some set up tables already, like a critical hit effect. And if I roll this, it will show over here on the right what my what table came up. Tables are pretty cool. You can build a lot of neat stuff with them. The calendar, this is the Forgotten Realms calendar right here. Calendars are pretty cool, and there's a lot of information you can do behind them. It's definitely not something I'm going to cover with one little quick tutorial. So they are there, and you can read all about them on the user guides. Dice color is still the same. Modifiers is still the same here, except as a DM, you can actually make new ones. And effects, this is something that's different. On effects, I've already put in every condition that it recognizes. This is all the conditions that Fantasy Grounds will recognize. And if I drag one of these and drop them onto a creature, it will automatically calculate that effect. Remember to change the duration, because I have all these set to 1 round. And then you have your GM options tab. Now, I highly recommend looking at the user guide to understand what all of these options do, because there's a lot of them. Okay. I will do a quick summary of these options at the end of this video, but for now, I'm just going to move on because there's a whole lot there. Ultimately, I think DMing is basically about world building. So the first thing I wanted to be able to do is run a straight encounter. How do I do that? That's the bare minimum I need to be able to do as a DM, is I need to be able to resolve combat. All the rest is talking and rolling dice, and you already know how to do that. So the first thing I need to do that is a map. So let me pull up my images, and that's the built-in images that come with one of the library modules. I'm going to go to my folder, and I'm going to build an encounter from the Defiance in Flan D&D Expeditions adventure, because I happen to have the PDF for it. So I'm just going to drop in a goblin layer and a goblin layer for DMs, and I'm going to close that. And you can see now those are appearing. So here's goblin layer, and that one's nice and small. That's really for me as the DM to see. So I'm going to right click this and minimize it, just stick it up top. You notice it has a little map icon. And then I'm also going to open up the same layer again, but this time for the player view. And you notice it's huge. If you hold control and drag and move around, you can it'll automatically adjust the size of the screen instead of having to grab the very corner. So I'm going to throw that to about here. Yeah, that'll work. And then the first thing I want to do anytime I build a map is I want to set a grid. So I'm going to go to Layers, Set Grid, and I'm going to drag this across here, and I think it's about 75. How'd I do? Oh, it's a little off. Let's try that again. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to the grid toolbar, and I'm going to subtract it by 1. Oh, that looks a lot better. And then I'm going to move it over like a pixel at a time. I guess it was 74. There we go. So I got my grid nice and lined up the way I want it. By holding middle click, I can pan the map back and forth as a reminder. So the next thing I want to do is I want to apply a mask. So I click on that to turn masks on. You can also right click, layers, enable mask, etc., delete mask. So now I'm in mask mode. So whenever I draw, it does a box. If I hold shift down, then I can do like so. I can do freehand. What am I trying to say? I can do freehand to demask the map. So pretty straightforward. I really like just the demasking. Dynamic lighting's cool, don't get me wrong, but for me it's always just felt like more work than it's worth to me. So I can reveal that and show it to the players. I'm going to go ahead and drop the players on the map now. So there's Davian, there's Limray. Now you'll notice for the players, I have their health bar listed, their health listed as a bar on the icon. And then I also have, whoops, don't roll, sorry. And then I also have their title above their token. Whereas for NPCs, I don't do that. I use a dot because this is like, will show a 1% difference. And I don't want it to be that granular for my creatures. So I've got a map built. The last thing I want to do is I want to right click and I want to say lock my tokens. Now if you weren't using, say you decide you don't want to use the auto scaling in the options, you would go to click on a token and then there would not be a token scale. You would zoom the map till you got the token fitting the grid you wanted, and then you would lock the token scale, and all of your tokens would automatically be adjusted by that size amount. The nice thing about the scale it to the square means you can use different sizing tokens and it will force them to all be the same size. Okay, so I've got my map built. I want to go ahead and move on. The next thing I need is a monster. So I'm going to minimize this map to get it out of my way so I have a little more room to work with. Normally I DM on 2 screens, by the way. I have my combat tracker and the map on one window and everything else on the other window by just dragging this wide across 2 screens. So let's go ahead and open up NPCs. We've got our personality built already. I want to go ahead and create a goblin. That's who they're going to fight in this first entrance. So I'm going to put goblin. I need to pick a token for him. And I already have a token here that I want to use for goblins. Doink, right there. Like I said, there's quite a few, I said earlier, there's quite a few tokens here. Like if you go into Monster Pogs and I type goblin, there's quite a few goblins in there already. So, you know, you'll do what you want to do with those. So there's my goblin. Now, as far as fields I have to have, I should have size, I should have armor class and hit points, and I would recommend putting the attacks. That's really all you have to put in there, and then your combat tracker will be fully functional with things auto-resolving. Me, I like to just fill out the entire sheet because you only have to do this one time. I'll show further in in the next tutorial, but you can take any campaign you've created and export stuff out of it. I can take every monster I've created and export it to a module called Monster Manual, and then I can open that up, and then it will give me those NPCs on another tab, and then I can use them in any adventure I want. In fact, that's how I recommend making a Monster Manual if you're not going to use parse to do it. I really recommend using parse to do it though. But anyways, here's what it takes to go ahead and get one put in. So I'm going to say this is a Humanoid, goblinoid. It is neutral evil. Armor class is 15, and that's from leather armor and shield. Now, that is definitely extraneous. You really don't have to put that. The 2d6 is in case you're using variable hit points for your creatures. 30 feet speed, 8, 14. You can see it automatically puts the modifiers for their different stats. Saving throws, if they had one modified, would go there, but it doesn't have any. For skills that they have proficiency in, when you start typing, you can just hit space as soon as it's figured out what you were going for. Is none of those things. Senses, and anytime you have any doubt, you just type it exactly the way it's put in the stat block, because that's what it's expecting when it comes to parsing data. So to basically create roles for you. And let's see, this is common and goblin. Challenge rating is 1/4, and he gives 50 XP. And if I scroll down here, you can see, let's make this a little bigger. You can see I've got traits, and I know he has at least one, and he has 2 actions that he takes on his stat block. So let's go ahead and put the first trait in, which is nimble escape. And then I'm going to cut and paste that text in. Copy, paste. Now I'm pasting this from a PDF, and that PDF usually, most PDFs you cut and paste from, unless it's the original PDF, is going to have lots of carriage returns in it. If you hold on, as long as you're on one of the lines and you hold and push Control J, it will join with the next line. So if there's 10 lines, just hit Control J a bunch and it'll put it all into one sentence. That way it's not all broken up. Okay, so actions, the scimitar, and the actions is where I really love the combat tracker. If I put these in, it gives me nice, easy to just double click real quick. And so I'm going to hit that. Now, you need to double check and make sure. Notice that it didn't quite get that 1d6 in there, so because it parsed it as an L. So, I'm sorry, and that's from my PDF. That's not this. So anyways, now you can see there's my +4 to hit. There's my 1d6 +2. And I'll give you a look at it when I put it in the combat tracker in a second. It's going to be really awesome. So short bow, and this is a ranged weapon attack. A little trouble grabbing that text. Paste. J, get it all linked, and yep, it got that 1d6 wrong again. Okay. All right, so I'm all built. I'm going to go ahead and, oh, the other tab is where you could put descriptions, and any formatted text that would work in a story field works here too, which means you can even link to other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just close that. And so there's my goblin, all built and ready to go. And you'll notice I can parse those things right away. And then I'm going to drag and drop this goblin onto the combat tracker. On here, when it's the goblin's turn, you'll notice it automatically shows his offense, and there's his scimitar, melee attack, attack +4, damage. His short bow is a ranged attack, attacks +4, blah, blah, blah. And I can pull it up to see the full text. On his defense, I can also see there's his armor class ready to go, and it'll show his traits, and I can open up the text to see those too. So very cool stuff. I'm going to go ahead and reset the initiative to nothing, so nobody's turn is up. And I'm going to remove that goblin. You just hit delete item, confirm delete to get rid of him. All right, so I built my goblin. What I want to do, though, is make an encounter. So here's my encounter, and this is going to be, I want to name this encounter after the room they're actually in. I think that's pretty common occurrence. So I'm going to put 2A entrance passage. So there that is. And then I'm going to put, this is CR should be 1/2 because it'll be 100 XP total. And I'm going to drag a goblin in, and then I'll say there are 2 of them. So, and that's it. My encounter's built. Now what's really cool about the encounters is when I click this button, it adds them to the combat tracker, rolls initiative, and they're automatically hidden. So it's ready to go. But if I have a map ready to go, I can also take these little tokens here and I can place them on the map. You would do this when your players aren't connected, obviously. But I could drop them both in, and then when I close this, they disappear, right? So let's get back to my encounters, entrance passage. I need to stop closing that. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say add to tracker. There's my 2 goblins, and you'll notice they're already hidden. So it's beautiful. I guess we can leave that alone. So we're steadily building our encounter. I'll just leave entrance passage up there. So the next thing I want, though, is if they kill this, there's going to be some items involved. So I want to go here to a new item, and I don't have one built yet, so I'm going to make a potion of healing. So the first thing is, if it's not identified, I want to just put potion. All right, and in the notes it'll say small vial of red liquid. That's all I want you to see if it's not identified yet. Then if you do identify it, it is the category is under adventuring gear. It's the table in the player's handbook. And this is just standard gear. It costs 50 gold. It weighs 1 pound. And then I need the text for a potion of healing. Copy, paste, and then again, Control J a couple times. Get rid of all those extra spaces or extra returns. And that's all built and ready to go. So lock that up. There we go. Now, if a player sees that, he only sees the top part of it. So I want to go ahead and create a parcel. And in this parcel, let's see, new parcel. Let's move this up here. So my treasure parcel is going to be the same thing. This is the 2A entrance passage parcel, just to help me keep track of what goes with what. And in this parcel, they found, let's say, 100 silver pieces, right, between all the kobold, between these two goblins in a bag. They're pretty rich goblins, if we're going to be honest about it. So, and then I'm going to drag a potion of healing and drop it there and lock that up. So now I'm set. I've got my parcel built. So at this point, I'm ready to go. I mean, I could run the encounter right now. I've got my NPCs. I've got my my stuff. In fact, you don't even have to have the encounter or the parcel. But let's take it one step further and open up and make a new story entry where I can actually have all of this stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and close these because I won't need them. I can have all of this stuff linked directly into a story entry. So I'm going to put new story item. Here's my story entry, and I'm going to call this again to a what was it called? Entrance passage. Okay. Whoops. There we go. Entrance passage. Okay. Now this is a formatted text field. It's honestly a lot like a word processor. There are a whole lot of different commands that work for a whole lot of different control shortcuts. I'm just going to throw them up on the screen right there so you can look at them. But these are all the quick hotkeys to format the text that you're working with. So now we've got a good look at those. Let's go ahead and put in the text for this entrance passage. So I'm going to take and cut and paste the text in. Copy, paste. So there's all my text. And again, we got that whole problem where it has the extra line returns. So I'm just going to hit Control J a few times to get that one where I want it. And then let's see, down to the piles, and then down to if goblins are alerted, down to there and there. Okay, so now my text is nice and set up. So I want to go ahead and start changing the text on some of these paragraphs. So the first paragraph in this is actually a chat frame. So I want to do Control 3, and now it's a chat frame. And what's awesome about this is, let me go ahead and lock it. If I drag and drop this, that's what it puts in there for the players to read, which is just great. Anytime you have a text block like this, if you click on the end and you hit Tab, you can assign a speaker. So I could have an NPC who's talking. I could drag that over, and then when I drag it, it will actually choose it'll put the identity of the person who's talking and put a little speech bubble for him. Okay, so the next bit of text, don't really need to modify anything. Here, there are 2 goblins, and I'd like that to be bold, so I'm going to hit Control B, mainly because that's how they format it in this edition. You kind of just make it bold for the creature name. But that is to remind me that there are going to be some goblins I need to deal with here. If the goblins are alerted, they shoot through the holes in the wall, blah, blah, blah. I don't really need to change anything else there. So what I want to do is I'm going to add 2 more lines here. I'm going to put encounter, and then I'm going to put treasure. Okay. Let me delete that. And then these are going to be links, which is Control 5. Okay, and Control 5. Now they're links. So what I want to do is on my NPCs encounter, I'm going to drag and drop, my entrance passage encounter right there. And then on the treasure parcel, I'm going to drag this entrance passage treasure and drop it there. Close, close, lock that, close. Okay, so, oh, we forgot one thing. Almost forgot this. And I usually do this at the top, so let's do that. I want to unlock this. I'm going to come to the top here. And this actually needs to be link text now, and then this is my speech bubble. Okay, this is going to be map. And then I want my images and maps, I want this goblin layer to be right there. Now, I'll show as we go here that that's not normally how I would store the map. Normally I would have the main entry have the map, and then these would be pins on that map. But we'll get to that in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. So here's my thing. So whenever the players get to this story entry, I pull up the map. There it is. I can drag and drop the text in. And then I can pull up the encounter, which, let me get rid of the creatures that weren't supposed to be here. Delete foes. Okay. So I come here, I drop that in, and then I can come here to the treasure and have the treasure parcel all ready to go. So that's what's beautiful about the story entries. So now it's time to really get into the nitty-gritty on the combat tracker and the map window, which is going to be what you interact with a lot. Now, understand also in 5th edition, a lot of times I do fights that are completely theater of the mind. There's no map, there's no tokens, in which case you're doing everything in the combat tracker itself. So still very handy to be very proficient with the combat tracker. So this encounter could be described completely without having this map. I could say that there's 2 goblins at the entrance of the cave, and Arboreus says he wants to attack one. The player on his turn would just hold control and click on one of the goblins that he wants to swing at. So in this case, let's just break down what all's on the combat tracker. First off, the things across the top will apply to every single entry. So if I click the little boot here, it'll show the effects on every creature. Size and reach, defenses, offense, attributes, and current targets. Okay. This little thing here is the NPC button. So I can do individually, let me bring that map back. Individually, I can toggle whether or not an NPC is visible on both the map and the combat tracker. Or I can just click and show them all. Now, if I want someone hidden on the combat tracker because their initiative order's not up yet, but I do want them, like their first initiative hasn't come up, but I do want them visible on here, then I can go to right-click a token, go to visibility, and you can set either mask sensitive, so if they go under the mask, they disappear, or I can set always visible. I'll go ahead and do mask sensitive, and like that, and that means that if I move this token to here, it'll go invisible again. But if I bring it back out, it becomes visible. So, but you have to set those individually whenever you drop them on the map. Now, if a token starts out here and then I move it in, it will automatically have the mask sensitivity. So it can be handy to have your creatures. A lot of times when I build encounters, I do not place them in the encounter because that way I can drop them into an area that's masked. And then when I move them out, they'll automatically reveal, but not show them on the initiative tracker yet. So to each their own. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and show them. You have a lot of different options on here. Whenever it is a creature's turn, I've already shown it automatically shows you the offense for that creature. You can pull up the targets for that creature, and you can control click. You can use the selection mode button up here to select different things. You can drag and drop this cursor. You can hit this to clear their targets. You can target clear all targets. You can target all friendly units, which means on the same faction as him, so hostile. And you can have it target all enemy units, so anyone who's not listed as hostile. Pretty cool stuff. If you go to defenses, you'll see where the defense is. It'll also show any traits they have. Again, any shield you click will show you what text you have formatted for them. That and that. You can change someone from friendly to neutral to hostile by dragging the skull and dropping it. You can automatically force the next round by clicking this little button. You can roll your mouse wheel if you're holding control to change the round number. This is your next turn icon. It'll work all the time. You can also drag this arrow and set it on whoever's turn it is, or just click on the little box and it'll make it their turn. The last thing you can do then is on your menu. You've got a bunch of different options. So first one is to rest. If you choose rest, short rest, it just notifies the players you took a short rest. If you have something that is refreshed on a rest, it should refresh it. If you have something that's set to once per day, a long rest should reset it, or a certain number of times per day. Long rest will also give you back all your hit points and regain half your hit dice. Next menu item is the initiative tracker, or initiative, which you can roll everyone's initiative, you can roll just NPCs, you can roll just PCs, or you can clear initiative, which removes all initiative and sets the round back to 1 if it wasn't 1 already. And your last one is effect, well, not last one, you also have effects. When you go to effects, you can either clear all effects that are on every token, or you can clear expiring effects, which means it'll only clear things that have a duration in minutes or rounds. If it's hours or days, then it will not be cleared. So like your wizard's mage armor spell will not be cleared, which is great, but the barbarian's rage will be cleared at the end of the combat when you click that. And then the last thing is to delete from tracker, and this would be to remove all foes or anything that is neutral or hostile, anything that is not friendly. Which can be handy if they run from a fight or fight's over, or you add stuff and for whatever reason you need to just remove everything. Otherwise, you can right click on any token to just remove it. You can also create a new creature on the fly. I could just say goblin, give it 7 hit points. You notice you have 10 hit points in wounds, so wounds count up versus that total. I can say he is hostile, and then I can go to his attacks and defense. Don't actually need anything on his attacks. I mean, not really. I can just set his defense at 15. He's ready to go. I need a token, I guess. So token, let me use one of theirs. Goblin. Oh, wow. So it searches through all your bags. I didn't even realize that. That's pretty awesome. So let's just grab this goblin here and drop him. Done. So there we go. Now I've got another goblin who can be dropped on the thing. And if I put him here, doink. If I put him here, it hides him. So they automatically start mask sensitive, which is really nice. So anyways, there's another goblin. Now, if I look at his stats, let me pull him up here. It's empty. There's nothing in there. If they roll an attack against him, though, it will auto-resolve against his armor class. He doesn't have any attributes, so if they try and force a saving throw, it's just going to roll that. So that will not work very well. I'm going to delete the token here, delete just him. Okay, and I want to remove him from the tracker. Oh, let me show you this. Whenever you take enough damage to kill you, it automatically puts a little remove this token, which you'll have to click twice, but it's an easy way to remove monsters without having to go through all the right clicking. So you have the targeting tab, you have the attributes tab. Offense will show all of the abilities for a monster, or all their attacks. Defense will show their armor class and traits. Reach, pretty straightforward. It's how many, size is how many squares you'll take up. So if you do size 10, it'll take up a 2x2 square. Your effects all go here. If you need to add a new effect, you just click there. You can also, from my effects window, I could drag in he's deafened. And you'll notice the duration is 1 round. It's currently initiative 0, so that's why it's doing that. But it'll use whatever the monster's initiative is as the round for it to expire on. And then you can also type in your own. So I could say -2 or -10 foot speed, because there's not really an effect for that. But it would give me a reminder. Let me do this. When the goblin's turn comes around, it'll remind me he has -10 feet to his speed. So, and then just click like this to remove any conditions that you don't want to wait for them to expire. So that's all there is to that. I think that covers pretty much everything you are going to encounter on the combat tracker. At least that's all of the normal things that happen. Oh, whoops, I want to do menu, initiative, reset all. So let's jump over to the map window. Okay, so we're past the combat tracker. Now let's look at the map. The map in Fantasy Grounds is pretty powerful. There's a lot of things you can do. The first thing I want to look at, so we covered like setting up a mask and putting a grid on. You can change it to a hex grid if you want. I don't think I've ever used it. But you have enable shortcuts. Let me show what shortcuts are first. So I'm going to go to my stories, and I've got this entry here, which is basically this encounter. I'm going to hold control, and I'm going to drag this shield over, and I'm going to drop it just right here. Now you'll notice that now it says entrance passage with a little map pin. So let me close that. Anytime I hold control, I'll see that map pin. Those are my shortcuts. If I click it, it brings up that story entry. So now you can see how amazing map pins are. I can have a whole map, and then I can pin all my different encounters around the map. So as the players get near it, I just click on the pin, and it pulls up all the text I need to see, all the encounter information, text, just everything. I can go to a whole adventure and just start with a master map. When you do enable shortcuts, it just makes them on all the time. I tend to not use it because I would rather just push control when I want to see them. So that is shortcuts. So let's go through the toolbar at the top. You've got the mask, which you've already covered how to do. You've got drawing mode, which it's the same as it is in player mode, including your eraser. It's a little easier because you got the toolbar for it. But there is something really neat about the drawing that you should know. And when you go to drawing layer, you can lock the drawing layer. Right? I currently have it locked, but you can lock it. And the reason is it will not take long for your players to figure out they can draw penises all over your map. So it's a good way to stop players from drawing on your map if you're tired of them doing it. We already showed how to tinker with the grid. And then you've got your selection mode. This just allows you to select more than one token at a time. And then I could say hold control and click, and all of them will target that goblin. So that's pretty cool. Let's all of them untarget that goblin. So selection mode just lets you highlight multiple tokens. You can also click a token and then hold shift and click more tokens. It does the same thing. So, and that's a good point. If you double click any token, it brings up that token's character sheet or that token's stat block. So pretty neat. You have targeting mode. Whenever I'm here, this is to select more than one target. So if I have him targeted, I can do this and drag and target them all. That works too. I can do it a second time to clear all of his targets. So whenever I have something targeted, you can do clear all their targets. You can do clear all friendly units. So he would target his buddy. Let me clear that. So let me grab this guy, target friendly. Notice it says he's targeting both himself and the other goblin. I'm going to go there and say clear targets. Click him and clear targets. And then I want to do target all enemies, and he targets all enemy tokens. And then I will click it again to clear it. So that's basically what all the little toolbars across the top do. This little gold thing here, if you click it, it allows you to, if you click on it, it allows you to pan the map around. But I just use middle click to pan my map. That's usually what I do. If I hold control, you can resize the map really easily. Otherwise, left clicking just moves the map around. Yeah, the little toolbars up top are really amazing. They didn't used to have this. This is something new. And then, of course, you can minimize map. So whenever you want to remove tokens, you can click to delete a token, and it'll say, do you want to get rid of all tokens or just the one you're on? Whenever you delete something in the tracker, it kills its token off also, which is also something that didn't used to do. I can rotate tokens. I can also just roll my mouse wheel to rotate them. You can release the, if you have not set an auto token scale, you can zoom the map, because if they're not locked, they will just, the token will stay the same size while the map zooms. You can get the map to the zoom size you want and then lock the token scale. And then that way all tokens will be adjusted that percentage. But because I'm using different size tokens, I just wanted to blow them up to fit the square for whatever their size is. You can also unlock tokens. So they're locked right now, meaning if a player tries to move his token, it leaves that image path. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that on one of my characters. Before we do that, sharing. You can preload an image, and you'll watch over here. You see once that little web shows up, that means the other players all have it loaded now. And then whenever I do sharing, I can say share sheet, and it pops up on their screen. Now, something to note, after you've shared a sheet, it's a good idea to not share it again from then on, unless a player needs it reloaded. After that, if I change my view, like to over to here, I want to rotate and I want to go to sharing and I want to say sync client view. That will center their map where I'm centered, but it won't resize their window, because if they have a different size monitor than you, and they probably do, they've probably already adjusted it. And every time you share a sheet, it sends the full window to them again. The last thing there is you can lock client view. And what that does is anytime, so let me sync client view, and then I'm going to do lock client view here. And when you lock client view, that means if a player tries to pan around anything outside of what you see right now on the screen, let me zoom in and I'll demonstrate this. Sync client view. I'm going to drag the player side over and let me back out, and you can see they cannot see anything outside of that, right? So that's why lock client view, I tend to not use it. If you're not using masks, lock client view can be pretty nice. That way you don't have to mask the entire map. You could only let them see the part you want them to be able to see and sync client view, and they can't see outside of that. But then they can't look back where they came from. And I actually like my players to be able to look through the map. You'll notice there's a little gray box that's showing what they can see right now. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock client view, and then I'm going to resync the client view so that my players can see everything on their side. Is there anything else on the map we need to make sure we touch on? Pointers we already covered in the first tutorial. No, that's about it. So that's how to use everything on the map. So now the party tracker. Let's go ahead and pull that up, my party sheet. There's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of really useful utilities for the DM. So first off, I can have everyone make, I say everyone needs to make a 14 dex check. I just put it in, I type the value they need to get, and I hit roll. Bam, it kicks it out. It'll roll for all the players and tell me who did and didn't make their save. It also doesn't even show them what happened. On this player side, they just saw a bunch of shadow dice roll, and it was over. I can do the same thing for skill. In order to spot a tripwire, they need to make a 14 perception check. And I say roll. It does all of them. It'll tell me who passed that check. I can have strength checks. I can have, a strength saving throw. So this could be dexterity saving throw of 12. 12, roll. It'll roll the saving throw for all of them. Tells me, wow, everybody passed that one. So it tells me if they passed it. I can even do an attack. Like they get attacked by a hail of boulders, fall, and they're +4 to hit. It'll roll an attack roll against everybody, and it'll let me know who got hit and who didn't. So very cool stuff. Also, like I said, lets me see all of their stuff and any information I need. And if I click on their sheet, it brings up their stuff that I want to see. Any notes I want over here are also good too. I can put on their character sheet to make sure I don't miss them. So the inventory, this is big. And on my inventory sheet, you'll see I have what the players normally see, which is the treasure parcels, as well as the coins that are available, which should be considered like the party treasure. And then down here is the party's coins. So there's 100 GP on their character sheets right now, and it shows a breakdown of who has how many. And then on the party inventory, in fact, I'm going to make it a little bigger so you can see it. I can see every item that's being carried by the party, as well as how many are being carried by each person. So I can see they have no potions of healing. You can tell really quickly just by rolling through, they do not have any potions of healing. All right, so the way the party sheet works is when I have my encounter, let's really show off here. Control, I'm going to click in my passage. I'm going to pull up the treasure. There's my treasure parcel. I'm just going to drag and drop it right onto the party sheet. So it just has one potion. That's because my players haven't identified it yet. Now, let's say before they even assign it, their wizard identifies it. I check this. Now it says potion of healing, and that's what the players see. So now when the players open it up, they see the full thing. Let me go ahead and change this back to not identified, like this. Close potion, and I'm going to bring the player window over, and let me bring up their party tracker. They see potion, and when I open it, that's all they see. Notes, small vial of red liquid. So I'm going to move this aside without doing anything else. I'm just going to identify it. On the character screen, now it's identified. So really, really awesome. I love the identify feature. Now, they have 100 silver pieces here and a potion of healing. This little button allows them to, so they could sell this potion. They would get 25 gold because that is half of the gold piece value of the item. There's a couple ways they can take it. I can drag and drop it onto a character sheet. They could drag and drop it onto a character sheet, or we could do assignment, in which case, especially if there was more than one, let's say there were 3 potions of healing, I could actually put names in for who was supposed to get each one. But in this case, it's case sensitive is the only thing to make sure. So I could put Davian, right? And then I could put Arboreus gets one. So, and then when I hit the assign, it would give one to each of them. So they only have one in this case. So I'm just going to type Arboreus. And as soon as it gets it to me, I'm just going to hit that and just tab, move out of it. So now it's set to assign to him. When I hit this down arrow, it should split the coins, 25 silver to each player, and it should give him the potion of healing. I click it, bam. So when I come down here, I can see they have 100 silver pieces. Each of them have 25. And if I scroll down, there is a potion of healing that Arboreus has. And if I open up Arboreus' sheet and look at his inventory, there's that potion of healing. So really slick. I love the party sheet for that. The party order is not a big deal. The main thing you need to remember, though, if you do want to use the map side of it, make sure you drag their tokens in from the combat tracker, because you could drag this token in and that won't be linked to anything. You always want to drag from the combat tracker so that this represents the entry on the combat tracker. I like to do this a lot when I'm doing Theater of the Mind, is use this. Their tokens are here, and I'll just put the monsters here. And so I can have a, you're about here, this monster's next to you, that monster's over in the corner. And that way, the players can have an idea of how big the fight is, and where general things are, but we don't have to have an actual concrete map. Really useful for theater of the mind here. Okay, you can also remove people from the watch order if you don't want them on the list. So the XP tab is my last one. You can build a quest here, like I could say, clear out goblin caves, and this is an XP award of 400 if they complete it. And then over here on encounters, let me grab that encounter from here, and I'm just going to drag and drop it right on there. And now it shows 2A, entrance passage. It's a CR 1/2 worth 100 XP. Once the party has completed this, I can right click it. I can either get rid of it, or I can say award the XP. And when I award it, do I award it to one, like one lump sum, or do I award it to everybody? So I'm going to say award it to everybody. Bam. You'll notice everyone gained 25 XP as it split it up. When they clear this one out, I can do the same thing. I can say award to all. Bam. Okay, so the last thing I promised to do was just a quick rundown of the DM options, and the ones I use especially. So let's just run down them real quick. There's mouse wheel editing. If you hold control, see, like right here, if I roll my mouse, nothing happens. If I hold control, it'll actually roll the number field. Target remove on miss. This is pretty handy. If I take this goblin and he was to target all 4 players, and then I rolled his attack, let me make it his turn, and I did a short bow attack. So it rolls all the dice, and you can see it didn't hit everybody. In fact, I think I only hit one guy. Wow, that's a really bad roll. So that way it strips out all of his, anyone that he missed, and then I can go ahead and roll his damage, and it would only apply to him. So let me go ahead and go to targets, clear all targets. There we go. So I don't mess it up later. The show all GM rolls I've got off, but I do have show results to clients. So the end result is whenever I attack, my players see just what the ending roll was, which is really nice. I also have show portraits turned on, show row totals is on, item identification, which I showed how it worked, I love. Show characters to clients I have turned on, which means in the party window they are able to see each other. Show inventory I have off. They're not allowed to see what the other people are carrying. The dice tower I have on, which I love. Again, in case anyone doesn't remember, the way the dice tower works is whenever a player rolls, it shows me what that person rolled, but not them. And then also, same thing, I can drag and drop it, and it'll let them know what they rolled if I wanted to tell them. Facing, I have off. Normally, whenever, see how now all my they have facings, and if I roll the mouse wheel, it shows what direction they're facing. If it's off, then rolling on a token just rotates it. Auto PC initiative. This is nice. Whenever NPCs are added to the combat tracker, it rolls their initiative. I have it set to roll them in groups, so every goblin with the same stats will have the same initiative, which is how I do it at the table, so I kind of try to emulate that. But you can have that off, or you can have it on where it rolls individually. Auto NPC numbering, it numbers my goblins randomly, so instead of like goblin 1 and 2, it'd be goblin 9 and 14. So you never know, it doesn't give a player clues to how many goblins there actually are, like if some are hiding. NPC rolls, variable or fixed. Do I want fixed damage rolls or variable? I use variable. Ring on PC bell turn. Ring bell on PC turn. That makes it ding whenever it's a player's turn to get their attention. Show effects is turned on, so that's whenever it comes around to a new turn, or when it's a player's turn. You click here, you can see it puts down, summarizes the effects on the player. That's more for me than it is for players, actually, but I do like that one. Stop at round start. Whenever the last person's turn is over, it will stop the turn and count the round up, but it waits. I like that to just give me a chance to kind of reassess where we are in the turn, what round it is, because a lot of times I forget to keep track of what round we're at. It also lets me check if someone had a ready to action or is delaying. Reminds me, hey, you were delaying, you need to do something now. Show health to clients. I have it set to friendly, so they can see friendly people's hit points in the combat tracker versus just seeing wound categories for enemies. And then the wound categories, if I want simple or detailed. So simple is either healthy, above 50, below 50, or dead. So, or detailed view, which is basically 100% healthy, under 100% is light, Under 75 is moderate, under 50 is heavy, under 25% is critical, and then dying. So I tend to be very descriptive in my games to give them a better idea of where the monster is life-wise, so I try to do that. Auto scale to grid, I have 100%. You can also set it to off, which means you would have to manually set the scale, or you can have it to 80% if you don't want them to quite fill the squares. I like 100%. 80 works good when you're using hexes. Show ally effects, I have it set to icons. Your options are also a mark, which just means they either have effects or they don't, or off altogether. Or you can have a tooltip where if you mouse over it, it shows you what effects they have. I like icons because it tends to, like, that's the resist icon. So you tend to learn what the different effects are. The ally health, I have listed as a bar. Your other option is a dot that changes color. Or off altogether, or a tooltip so that when you mouse over them, it will tell you what their hit points are. So I like to do the bar for players because the bar is a 100% scale. So if you are at 90 versus 80, those will be two different appearing bars. Whereas for monsters, I use dots instead because I don't want you to have, I want you to have like within a quarter of its health. I don't want you to know down to the percent how much health it has left because it makes it too easy. It takes the mystery away from the monster. And then names. You can have title. You can have tooltips. I really like title. I think it looks great. And then if it has numbers appended, it sticks them over on the side, which is really great too. And then the last thing is, do you want to use fumble crit tables? I do not. Do you want to auto roll death saves? I did for the tutorial, but ordinarily I don't want to auto roll death saves because it really takes it away from the player, that feeling that, oh, I kept myself alive. And NPC hit points, do you want them to be standard? So whatever the default number is, do you want it to be maxed out, or do you want it to randomly roll for each monster? I use standard right now because that's how I run it at the table. And that is all of the options. Now, you are as equipped as I think I can make you for DMing your own game over the Fantasy Grounds tabletop. I really hope that this video was helpful to those of you who watched it, and I look forward to showing you how to build your own complete adventure modules in the next tutorial. Thanks.